So, Lyrical Set 2 came out, and Alestiel is finally a deck. With this version of the build, I'm going more towards the Blackwing build. It will be try to be pure Blackwing as much as possible. There's a Whitewing build and there's a hybrid build, but those are completely different from what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get this deck to be as consistent as possible, not really high rolly, as you'll see by some choices in the deck, and I'll talk about what is not in the deck later. And let's just get straight into it. So we have the starter here. You can just run any starter you want. There doesn't need to be a name. And then we got the grade 1 right here, which is important because it gets a bind zone. It gets our bind zone going, gets our grades going, everything like that for Blackwings. Notably, with the Blackwing skill, it says you can't attack it with grade 1 or lower units. This actually came up at locals against Flagberg because they're going to attack going second with that grade 1 that comes from Soul. So it actually came up. I was surprised it did in locals, but it happened. And then if you happen to misride, because it can happen in this deck, even though it has the lowest amount of misses in this deck than any other versions of the deck, you can accidentally go into White Wings on the first turn, and then you can just Soul Blast for the cost and make sure you don't minus out of the hand for that turn. It doesn't suck too much. But now what's different from this deck, from probably other profiles that you've seen, is I'm not running the grade 2. I am running the Kairi grade 2, Kiora. And what she says is that it's very simple. You can just bounce a rear guard to hand as soon as she attacks when she's on the Vanguard circle. And this is an extremely versatile attack effect that I'll go into with some other cards later, and why it's a lot better than the Alestiel grade 2. So the Alestiel grade 2 has the most annoying effect in the world. It has the effect, choose a card from your bind zone, put it on the bottom of the deck, and then put the bind zone. It basically filters your bind zone again. So that card that you got off the bind zone from the grade 1, it's now going straight to the bottom of the deck. So let's say you hit your OT onto the bottom at the grade 1 turn, then that grade 2 is just going to throw it right on the bottom of the deck. It's extremely annoying. I like to use this grade 1 to sculpt your hand for the grade 3 turn, and if you play the grade 2 Alestiel, you can't do that because it will be mixing up the bind zone every turn. Because this is a Blackwing deck, the Blackwing effect for the grade 2 isn't that good. The White Wings one is okay. But all in all, it's just that first effect that's just so annoying to deal with. I was talking to another Alestiel player at my locals, and they said they hit so much bad shit off of it and just throw so much good stuff that they want to see on the grade 3 turn onto the bottom of the deck, and there's no inherent shuffling of the deck, so if you throw it to the bottom of the deck, it's gone forever for the entire game. That's why I really don't like this grade 2. I think it's really annoying, and Kiora is the next best option, especially with some of the other support from set 2. That I'll go into, and it just has a lot of versatility. I'll bring her up when she gets to it, but it's really nice. Another grade 2 you could play is the Laurel grade 2. You can play her, and then you can play Madder Redder, and basically when you're going second, when you ride into grade 3, you can throw Madder Redder, and you get to draw a free card, and you deck thin because you get Madder Redder out of the deck. So if you want some more draw power in the deck, you can definitely run this, and it'll be more interesting. It will be a lot more advantageous, but you won't be able to find as many pieces that you would with the Kiora. But I'll get into that when I actually show you the cards. But let's go into actual main deck now. So now on to the best support from the set that'll see play in every single Kairi build. Phenyl. She's the only way to actually cycle the bind zone and get cards out of it and put whatever you want into it. She'll be in every single Alestiel build. She fixes the bind zone for you. She makes sure you're not the wrong wings. And then in this version of the deck, she's a Blackwing angel, so she actually has like a crucial effect that we need to proc once or twice during our kill turns, so we can actually hit the good numbers for other angels to actually hit. But it uses Counterblast, which this deck doesn't really use any Counterblast at all. It's basically just this and one other thing that I'll go into later that'll synergize with it. But you're going to be playing this in every Alestiel deck. I don't really need to explain it. It's how you actually filter the bind zone and everything like that, and it'll just see you play in every single Alestiel build. So now the payoff for playing Blackwings that came with that too as well is that it finally got something above White Wings, which is it can actually multi-attack now. So Pial can actually, it's just more copies you have. If she attacks, she can attack a grade 3 or greater Vanguard from the back row. So the more copies you have, the more multi-attacks you have. It's that simple. She's just a 10k attack, although Alestiel will be putting the opponent's Vanguard down to 8, so she'll always be hitting with no triggers in play. Even against MLB at the base 15, she'll still hit because it'll be at 10. So just back row attacks, extremely simple, and kind of what you build your deck around, just trying to get because there's not that many good low power shields or low value shields in this. She can usually eat a 1500 shield or 15k shield, which nobody wants to be doing on just a simple puny attack like that, but that's the power of the multi-attack, especially in D format. It's very simple, and the payoff for Black Wings. And because Black Wings is very piece reliant, and so you really want to see as many as you can as possible. And with the rest of this deck, you'll be seeing that I'm trying to get those pieces out of the deck as consistently and fast as possible, and as many of them as I want as possible. And so speaking of that, we're playing probably the best card in Black Wings. The benefit for playing pure Black Wings, the hybrid build probably wouldn't play this. But we're playing Emil and Phenyl. And Emil is an extremely versatile card. She helps the consistency. She just helps you be able to loop so much stuff all the time. You'll always be in Black Wings, obviously, so you'll always be getting your effect. When she gets boosted, you can bounce a Reguard or bounce anything from Soul. So if you Soul Charge with Phenyl here, basically your Soul, your Field, and your Bind Zone with the other cards in the deck, all of those pieces can be accessed to, you can come back to your hand so you can actually utilize them. You Soul Charge a PG, you can throw that PG into your hand with Emil being boosted. You Soul Charge OT, well, you can actually get it back, unlike most decks. And the best thing about it is if you can just keep on looping Persona Rides. Because if you have Emil and she boosted, you can boost her with the trigger, but mostly Phenyl. Once you Persona Ride once, if you have Emil in rotation, you can keep on Persona Riding at least for 2 turns in a row. And then at that point, you'll probably be drawing and drive checking enough that you'll find another Persona Ride or you'll find another Emil. So that's one of the big strengths of this deck, is that you can keep on looping Persona Ride with this package. It's a really nice utility card. It also can just bounce itself back to hand, so you don't really have to commit too much against retire heavy decks. A lot of my grade 2 turns are just Kiora right here, and then let me throw Emil right here, Phenyl right here, and then just gotta go this 20k column on grade 2, not bad. Throw one of them back to hand. I'm going to throw Phenyl back to hand. Then Kiora, she throws this back to hand. Feels empty now, and Kiora gets the drive check. Just really nice, simple plus and pressure that you can do on your grade 2 turn with this package and combo. It's just a really versatile card, and it really helps the consistency of the deck what it needs, and can even get you some more shield value. If I already have a Persona Ride and I see her being boosted in the front row, and if I Soul Charge the trigger earlier, I will just grab like a heal trigger or a crit trigger from my Soul, just so I can have a 15k guard instead of a 500 or 5k intercept. Just a great card all around. I really like this card in this deck. I wouldn't. There's some other boosters that you could probably play, but I wouldn't cut her Emil. I think she's just so versatile and very needed, and she does something that the rest of the D format that I don't think does. So with the rest of the deck, so Alestiel gives -5k power, and then Phenyl gives another -5k power, and if you have more copies there, you can do another -5k power. So you keep on stacking power, and the minus power that you want to get to -15, meaning you need to proc 3 effects. You have this won't proc, this will all be active, but you basically need to proc 2 effects that'll give -more power up. I hope my dog isn't picking up on mic. Anyways, but first off, before I get into the reason for the power, this is the only form of removal for the deck. She sold last 3, not a hard cost, at least just from the base ride line, you'll have enough for to actually use her, so you'll be able to use her basically every game. But when she's placed, she chooses opponent's units, so it can be Vanguard, Rearguards, usually be a Vanguard plus a Rearguard, and then for every 2 even grids, which will only be 2 because Alestiel won't be. Alestiel is always going to be grade 3, it's not going to be an even grade, so just basically always be 2. You choose them, get it -5k, and then every unit that's at 0 goes to the bottom of the deck. So it doesn't have to be the ones you target. So, very funny, if you're fighting against Bapsaga and they have Trick Moons on the field, the Trick Moons are already going to be at 0 from Alestiel's effect, so every single Trick Moon is going to go to the bottom of the deck after this effect resolved. It's very funny. But basically, because Alestiel is 500, and then this is another 500, and then it retires at 0. Basically, this only removes grade 2 or lowers, and it has to be grade 2 or lowers that don't already boost their attack on your turn, which is a surprising amount in D format. Like the Graphidia cards and Magnolia cards do that, so it actually doesn't hit as much as I'd like, but it does hit stuff. So back to the power of this deck, of this card. So we got 5 here. We got 5 from Phenyl, so that's -10. And we have -15 with this one. Now this is important because you want to get to -15 because on your push turn, you want to have 3 of these in the back row. So if you have them at -15, then now one of these can swing and hit, and if they hit a trigger, then that means your other attacks won't just die out. You want to make sure you actually hit the -15 so you can actually hit over a trigger with the back row files. So just hitting that now, of course, you can just see two Phenyls and counterblast 2, and then actually just get to that same number, but it also changes your attack order if you do that, and also is seeing you can't always see 2 Phenyl, and you also want to keep 1 Phenyl in your hand just in case you get external white wings into the bind zone, just because you don't want the worst to happen, to where like you're at a crucial late game turn and you happen to be in white wings, and then all your back row attackers just like can't attack, so you have a really bad turn because you're at the wrong wings. But it's really important to hit that -15 number, and she's basically the only way for it to fulfill it right now. There's only 2 ways for Black Wings to actually get -5k right now outside of Alestiel, and that's Phenyl, and then it's at Soul Blast 3. It's 2 Bearable, I think. I forget her name right now. Amazing consistent card. Like I said, Phenyl is the only one that uses Counterblast, and this is a really nice order. Just search the top 5 cards of the deck, call it to rearguard. And what you can do, again, on your grade 3 turn, a lot of times I do on grade 3, is that on grade 3 turn, I would activate the Sweet X Sweet, and then I would call what I need, any piece I need down on the ground, and then Cure will bounce that piece back to my hand. And there's no restrictions on this order or this call, so a lot of the times, I find a Persona Ride and that I don't have my hand, and I just ensure the Persona Ride for my turn 4 turn. So I just throw this down, throw it right here, attack with it, Kiora, and then just boom, I've secured my Persona Ride for the turn 4. Really nice card, it's extremely versatile. I use this to find more pieces of Pile, more pieces of her, need her if I want to fix my bind zone. If I have, because these need to do, Emil needs to do something with Phenyl. If I try to find the other piece of them so I can get that engine going. It's just an extremely versatile card. Really helps the consistency of the deck. Really helps you find your pieces. Like I said, this deck is very piece reliant. You want to be finding the pieces. You want as many piles as you can, or 3 at least, or 2 or 3 at least. You want to find Phenyl, so she can help you clear your bind zone, get a piece from the bind zone, also that power reducing, and then on push turn, you want to find just 1 of your 2 copies of a barrel, just so you can actually hit over triggers and everything like that. But she's not crucial, but she is extremely nice. Depending on the matchup, she could be very crucial because of that retire effect. Very nice consistent order, and this is more of a flex spot. I'm playing another grade 2 order. It doesn't mess up with the even grades of the Black Wings. This is just technically a free 30k shield. I felt that the deck needed more shield value, so I'm playing her. There's some other choices I'll get into for tech choices, but I just really felt like this deck needed more shield power, so I opted to go for this 30k shield, and it's really nice sometimes. Just being able to, just like on a grade 3 turn, or grade 3 or greater turn, just like get hit by a rear guard, and then just throw this on the Vanguard, and just goes OT to pass for it. Just really nice 1 card guard a lot of the time. It comes in clutch a lot. And then to round out the units, we have our Persona Rides, which try to loop with Emil and everything like that. This deck really needs the Persona Ride to actually hit the power for it to take good numbers. And then while I'm here, I'll throw out these PGs, and these are important together because these are the only white wing targets in the deck. This is the lowest amount, reasonably lowest amount of different wings that you can have in a deck, as opposed to a white wing build, which all the triggers are black wings, so that messes everything up. But this is the only 7 cards in this deck are white wings that you'll hit, and it'll be just like, damn, this is not what I need right now. But even it happens sometimes. You actually hitting white wings on the grade 3 turn, where you don't really want to commit to that much time. Your first grade 3 turn, because you can't really do much, because File, the multi attack, is on grade 3 greater Vanguard. So if you're going first, it can't attack the grade 2 Vanguard. But hitting white wings on grade 3 turn, it can be really nice for that extra crit, and they'll just take sometimes. And I'm running crits in this build, so sometimes they can just randomly take 3 damage from that. So it's really interesting. That even in this pure black wings deck, that the white wings, in fact, can come up sometimes. It can screw you over sometimes. That's why I want to keep the Phenyl, and I keep on bringing her over here because she really isn't that important to fixing everything. But this is the lowest amount. Obviously, you want to be, every deck has to play Persona Ride, every deck has to play Perfect Guard, so you have to play these. But this is the lowest amount of white wings targets you can get in the deck, even though this is a black wing build, just so you can minimize the chances of you missing your wings. Well, and that's it for the normal units and everything like that. And for the triggers, not super interesting, but we're playing 4 heals, and then we're playing 6 draw, actually. Draw triggers are, the effect draw triggers are very important because the 10k shield comes up a lot. And then we are going to be playing 5 crits. The effect crits kind of matter, they kind of don't. They can matter against prison, I guess, and the 5k can matter if you want to throw down like 5k, just try to hit good numbers like with Kiora, so they can't just safely 15k shield it and pass. Then that can matter, but realistically it doesn't matter that much. I'm running crits. I think fronts are actually a pretty valid choice because, like I said, shield value is really a big problem in this deck. There's actually a version of the build that I'm thinking about right now with one of the grade 2 and the tech choices, and getting rid of that shield order, but then switching these crits out for fronts just to make the deck more tankier and everything like that. That I'm going to be testing out after this. But for right now, I'm just doing crits. Crits can be really nice because a lot of people let your Vanguard swing just go through, and so because it puts threat on your Vanguard, because your Vanguard's never going to be boosted most of the time, almost all the time really. The Vanguard's never going to be boosted, so they're just going to be like, the Vanguard hit. They're multi-tech deck. They're probably not going to be running that many crits. I'll take the chances, and this kind of punishes them for just eating the Vanguard hit. And then the OT, very nice art. I don't got anything to say about it. The Cray one actually might be better technically, but this one's also extremely good too. But that's it for the entire deck. I'm gonna go into some tech choices real quickly. But that's basically it. Bronze it out. Very tight list. There's a couple flex spots. You don't need to play the barrel. You don't need to play the order, obviously, like that. I think the sweet order is extremely good for finding the PC, everything you need. And like I said, it's pure Blackwing. I'm not running anything else, not running anything hybrid, and I want to reduce my chances of having a turn where I'm on the wrong wing as much as possible. So, while I'm on that note, let's talk about some other cards in the archetype. I only have a couple right here, but basically, I'm not playing this one. And the reason why I'm not playing this one is because I think it's too high roll. I think it's bait. Obviously, the effect for white wings and black wings to be active both on the same until the end of your opponent's turn is extremely strong. But you have to be looping this. You have to be looping it with its own effect, which is, okay, you need a Persona Ride to do that. Or you need to be looping it with constantly seeing Phenyls in your hand. And it's just, it just feels so bad seeing multiples of these, because you only need one to get going technically for the loop. And even using her effect is pretty bad, because now you have 2 cards in the bind zone when you use her, so it's just extremely high rolly. I'm not saying the boards that you can make when this is involved is extremely nice, like multi-tech, crit pressure, it can be pretty insane for the format, but it's just all around, it's just way too high rolly of a card, and I want this deck to be consistent as possible, and so that's the reason why I'm not playing it. So now some more like actual Blackwing cards. This is the one I'm probably going to try playing right now. She's extremely interesting. Guard Circle ability, which not many in D format have. When she's put on Guard Circle, she chooses opponent's back, so it's actual interruption. She chooses opponent back row, and then she rests it. This can be really devastating against Magnolia, literally taking away attack. This could be good against Bevsagara, taking away a Trick Moon, effectively getting rid of 25k power to a column, just completely reducing the power of return. It cut a Bastion attack in half after they're like on their 4th or 5th turn after they resealed everything. Just extremely interesting card that I really want to try playing, and that's what I'm going to probably do with my next version of the Blackwing build. I'm going to try to build White Wings because I think that has potential too, but this next Blackwing build I'm going to make is probably going to be using this card and see how it actually tests against decks, because I think it'd be really devastating and help the survivability of this deck, which I think the deck needs. And then the last card I have right here, she on attacks, counterblast 1, soul charge 1, and then choose a regard, and then it can't stand during the next stand phase. So if your opponent doesn't have many copies of a card, or they don't run that many actual units to attack with, like let's say Gravidia, you can hit a Bakurito, the crit builder, and you can throw it on there, and just like, okay, you're gonna call over it and get rid of it and everything like that. And to just waste more of your regular units that you don't have that much of your deck, or are you just going to just let it stand there and reduce the amount of your attacks that turn? It's basically it's technically removal, but also it's not really. It really depends on what you're playing against. The counter blast, like I said, it's not that heavy. The soul blast is kind of nice. We already the soul charge is kind of nice. We already soul charge in this deck. It's not necessary really much to get that much soul charging, especially because you're bouncing the soul chargers in this deck. But it's just another really interesting card, kind of like the Guard Circle 1-2. I think these cards can be really good in the right situation. I just don't know. I haven't done enough testing to see which situation they'd be really good yet. But there's some really cool control elements to the Blackwing cards that I really appreciate. But that's basically it. I went to locals and I won. I played with the D format games that I played. I went at just 2-1. I went 3-1 in total. I lost against Prison, which I actually did a lot better than I thought I would against Prison, but I still lost. But it was actually closer than I thought. I think I actually got pretty lucky in the second game. They imprisoned my OT and my 6 damage heal, so it didn't go too great for my Prison matchup. But I think this deck, first of all, this deck's extremely cheap. I think this deck, you can play this deck and you can take some games because it's BT05 format right now, and BT05 decks aren't that actually powerful, so I think you can actually take some games with this deck, have some fun games with the same power of BT04. I think this can beat some grade 4 decks, but it's going to be an uphill battle, and you kind of have to get a little bit lucky. But all in all, it's still an extremely fun deck, and I think you can play. It's actually playable right now with set 2, and there's a lot of builds you can play with it. It's a very like interesting deck to build because you have Blackwing, Whitewing, Hybrid, and then some sort of Blackwing with like a splash of this, a splash of the high roll with it and everything like that. It's one of the more interesting decks to build in D format right now. Not a lot of decks have different builds. Usually, a lot of decks just have like, okay, yeah, there's just one build, and then like you have a little bit of a flex spot right here. But this is one of the decks that it has just out of the gate. There's three different builds, and then. And there's not that many flex spots with Lyrical right now because there's not so many good generic cards. But hopefully with the next set, we actually get some support, good generic support, and maybe hopefully some Angel support or Alestiel support. But there's 6 new rod lines, so let's hope they don't try to spread themselves too thin. But that's it, and I think this deck's really cool. I think it's really fun. I might do some White Wings videos, maybe some hybrid videos, but I really like this deck, and I really like in D format, so give it a try.